History is a lie agreed upon, but the stones of Mesopotamia tell a far more terrifying truth. They speak of kings who ruled for tens of thousands of years before the Great Flood. Alulim ruled for 28,000 years, and Men-Lu-Ana reigned for 43,000. Are these mere mythological exaggerations, or evidence of a biological reality we have long since forgotten or perhaps intentionally suppressed? Today, we peel back the layers of dust and dogma to examine the Sumerian King List, a document that defies biology, challenges physics, and suggests our ancestors were governed by something not quite human. In the early 20th century, archaeologists unearthed a clay prism that would shatter our understanding of the Bronze Age. Known as the Weld-Blundell Prism, it contains the names of the antediluvian kings. The list begins with a chillingly simple statement. After the kingship descended from heaven, the kingship was in Eridu. This implies a vertical transfer of power from a celestial source to earth. Alulim became king. He ruled for 28,800 years. Alalangar ruled for 36,000 years. These numbers are so massive they are often dismissed as symbolic, but the Sumerians were obsessed with mathematical precision. To the Sumerians, these were not metaphors. They were chronological facts. If we accept their dates for later kings, why do we arbitrarily decide their earlier records are nothing but flights of fancy? Wait, look closer at the numbers. They are all divisible by 3,600, the Sumerian unit known as the Sar. This suggests a mathematical system that operates on a totally different frequency than our own. Was this a way to hide a deeper secret? Some researchers suggest these years were actually lunar cycles, but even that adjustment leaves us with reigns that span centuries, far exceeding human limits. If these kings weren't human, what were they? The list distinguishes between the kings who ruled before the flood and those who came after. The biological shift between these two eras is startling. Before the Great Deluge, 8 kings ruled over 5 cities for a total of 241,200 years. These figures represent a stability of power that is completely unheard of in modern political history. And Men-Lu-Ana, the longest reigning monarch, held the throne for 43,200 years. Imagine the knowledge one could accumulate in 400 centuries. He would have seen entire civilizations rise and fall from his balcony. The text describes these rulers as having the Emi, the divine decrees of civilization. These were physical objects, perhaps advanced technology, that granted them the right and the capability to rule indefinitely. Could the kingship descending from heaven be a literal description of an extraterrestrial or interdimensional intervention? The Sumerian word for gods, Anunnaki, literally translates to those who from heaven came. What if our aging process is the anomaly? Modern science is just beginning to understand telomeres and the genetic kill switch. Perhaps these kings simply lacked the genetic degradation that plagues us today. If their biology was engineered for longevity, the transition after the flood marks a moment of planned obsolescence. The gods, frustrated by human noise, may have literally shortened our lifespans to maintain control. If you find these ancient mysteries as haunting as we do, join our search for the truth. Subscribe now and hit the bell to ensure you never miss a descent into the forgotten past. Then the flood swept over. With those 4 words, the Sumerian King List marks a total reset of the human experiment. The reigns of the kings suddenly drop from thousands of years to centuries. After the flood, kingship descended from heaven a second time, but in the city of Kish. Here we see Jushur ruling for 1,200 years. Still long, but a fraction of his predecessors' lifespans. This dramatic decline in longevity is mirrored in the biblical accounts of the patriarchs. Adam lived 930 years, but by the time of Moses, the human lifespan had settled into its modern, brief duration. Why the sudden drop? Was it a change in Earth's atmosphere, a radiation event, or a deliberate alteration of the human genome by the kings who returned to the stars after the deluge? One name stands out in the post-flood list, Etana of Kish. The list calls him the shepherd, who ascended to heaven and consolidated all foreign countries. He ruled for a modest 1,500 years. The myth of Etana describes his journey on the back of an eagle to find the plant of birth. This suggests that the post-flood kings were desperate to reclaim the immortality of their ancestors. Etana's flight is often interpreted as the first recorded account of space travel. He describes the Earth shrinking below him until it looks like a gardener's ditch. This is a perspective no human should have. If Etana was seeking a biological fix for his shortened lifespan, it implies the gods had removed something from us. We are living in the shadow of giants, unaware of our own potential. The Sumerian King List ends with the historical kings we know, like Gilgamesh. By this point, the reigns are normal. The transition from the supernatural to the historical is seamless and terrifyingly matter-of-fact. We must ask, why would a civilization so advanced in law, astronomy, and mathematics lie about their own history? Or is the King List a warning left for those who would come after? The list suggests that we are not the masters of our own destiny, but the survivors of a grander, stranger era, an era where time was measured in millennia and kings were literal gods. Perhaps the kingship will descend from heaven once more, and when it does, will we be ready to serve for 20,000 years, or have we finally escaped the cycle of the immortals?